Anybody who's travelled by plane has almost certainly flown in a Boeing 747 or an Airbus A380. But what's it like to sit in the pilot seat of these massive aircraft? Australian business traveller went for a spin in one of the state-of-the-art flight simulators which Qantas uses to train its pilots at its facility in Sydney. Qantas has 10 flight simulators at its Sydney training base. Each simulator is a self-contained pod driven by state-of-the-art electronics. The Boeing 747 and Airbus A380 simulators cost over $30 million each, says Qantas flight trainer Steve Curtis. Australian business traveller editor David Flynn stepped behind the control stick of a Boeing 747 for a virtual flight from Sydney to London. Each flight simulator is mounted on hydraulic struts with a walkway to take you across to the cockpit. Once the simulator is powered up, it's time for Australian business traveller editor David Flynn to step into the cockpit. The walkway retracts so the simulator can move freely on its hydraulic struts and faithfully reproduce exactly what a real 747 would do. The simulator's cockpit is an exact replica of the flight deck of a real Boeing 747. There's also additional equipment to control the sim. Steve takes us through some of the basics and sets the simulator parameters.
And then the other points are for your shoulder straps.
Right. We'll be departing from Sydney's Kingsford Smith International Airport and landing at London Heathrow.
So we'd normally start off with some taxiing, just getting used to the controls where everything's located.
The scenery that's visible through the cockpit windows is amazingly lifelike.
Yeah, what it is, like to show you before we finish up with this, there are three large curved mirrors at the front, concave mirrors.
It's created using giant concave mirrors and multiple projectors mounted at the front of the bay. Our video just doesn't do it justice. The apparent depth of the image is just unbelievable.
Commence the takeoff roll. It's a matter of moving the thrust levers forward at that position.
Now it's time to head for the skies.
So that it might use what it looks like.
Thankfully, our instructor has the controls and guides us down the runway and through a safe takeoff.
Trust me, anyone who thinks this is easy needs to sit in one of these.
Yeah, flying out the port bottom. Oh, back to Queensland. Actually, they don't let the nose reach up. Just put on the nose and walk.
It's amazing. We can see Moore Park, we can see the Sydney Football Stadium, the city behind it. People have asked you to do barrel rolls or loop under the Harbour Bridge.
Yeah, we get requests for it. It's not something we do.
Not something we assume will be programmed.
No.
So ladies and gentlemen, 3,600 feet on our left we have Sydney skyline, The Opera House, Sydney Tower, it's pretty amazing. The Harbour Bridge, it all looks so lifelike.
Just pop the nose down a little bit. Start to descend. Above landing here.
Bank angle. Bank angle.
Once you get above about a 30-degree bank angle, there's a warning system on the aircraft to nudge you to reduce the bank angle. It's just not comfortable to get that. Thames River.
Radio altimeter.
There's the London Eye.
You talk about, excuse me, over here. You're right, it's right by the river there. Just west Queensland Avenue. That's the London Eye just across.
Righto, let's head for Heathrow.
Okay.
Steve, what would be your favourite airport to land in the simulator?
Queenstown. But the 747 is not approved going to Queenstown, which is quite spectacular.
Really? You land there in winter in the middle of the snow?
Yeah. The only aircraft we're taking there on the 747. Yeah, London's directly ahead of us.
And you can change the weather in these with the flip of a switch.
So going into London on a horrible day.
Currently there's nothing on the screen, which is close to a pea super, I would imagine.
It is a London day.
There we go.
Well, that was like that.
That looks okay to me. Realistic, if nothing else.
Okay, so right hand on the thrust levers. Even though the automatic pilot's engaged, you still need to be monitoring the aircraft and in the event of enemy flight.
So far so good. There's a runway dead ahead.
$1,000.
So how much of this landing is on autopilot?
A whole lot.
You can land a whole plane on autopilot.
Absolutely. And in fact, it uses all three autopilots. And if you few other systems that are in behind the scenes to land the aeroplane. I've also set the brakes up so the brakes can bring the aircraft to a stop as well.
Certainly makes me look good. $500.
Now that's a final check to see that we're on the correct glide path and line up with the runway and the airspeed screen. $100. 50. 30. 20. 10. Good. If you reach forward with your right hand, these 4 levers, lift them up. Give a stop, pause for a second, now pull them all the way back. That will give us reverse thrust. 80 knots, you can start to place the reverse thrust levers back to that detail. Just pause there.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Heathrow, and thanks to Qantas for the ride of our lives.